you got to look at, okay, with our process, these are the things we can control. Obviously, we can't control weather. I can't force people to want to get a roof, right?
So tune into the next episode. I will be showcasing my hail dance. So it's 2026. I sent out podcast invites here for the show and didn't realize, because we're doing them in a different time zone. I'm in the Eastern time zone. We're not currently in the Eastern time zone. And people are messaging me like, yo, I'd love to be on the podcast, but it's 6:30, it says, for the invite. You would think that there's a better way to succinctly set and schedule things, taking into consideration what time zone you're putting the location in. Apparently that's not the case, or I'm just ignorant and don't know. So if you have a better way, drop it in the comments. I got my guy Pete McKendrick with Roofr here with us. Say, what's up, cuz?
What's going on, man?
It's so good to see you.
It's been a while.
It's been a hot minute.
It has.
And I try not to take it personally. See, 10 years ago, I would have taken it really personally.
Yeah.
But through self-work, I've gotten better.
Therapy.
Yeah, there's very little resentment now. So, yeah.
There you go. It's not worth holding the grudge, right?
Yeah. Welcome back to the Mission Control Podcast, episode 120-something. I've lost count at this point. I'm your host, Mike Stearns with Ascend Digital Agency. Y'all know the brand. Shout out to the team at Roofr. I mean, you guys are great, okay? So if you need instant quotes, roof measurements, if you need a CRM, you need clean and pristine proposals, which will give your prospects no choice but to buy. You got to hammer the link down in the description. You'll be thanking me later. That you can thank me via DM, phone call, MySpace message, whatever works for you.
MySpace.
So what's new? What is new, Pete? It's been, I think, 2 years since I've seen you.
It's been a while. It really has.
Catch me up.
I was trying to think, like, when was the last time we hung out? I think it was 2 IREs ago.
It's too long.
San Antonio?
We can agree.
I don't remember. I think it was 2 IREs ago.
Too long.
Yeah,
so we're going to work on that moving forward.
We are.
Stay in closer proximity, be locked in.
We are.
But what's new with you? What's new with Roofr? What are some exciting things to talk about?
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing, obviously, for us has been the growth. I mean, Roofr has gone, absolutely crazy. I'm 2 weeks, a week away from being there 5 years, which in startup life is like a lifetime.
Yeah.
And, it's pretty crazy to see the evolution of Roofr over that time. When I came there, we just had measurements. I think we had about 18, 20, somewhere in there, employees, and now we're over 250. Every show I come to, I meet people that have no idea who they are.
Yeah.
Never met before. Don't even know what they do at Roofr, so it's always fun to come to these shows now and meet some new folks. But yeah, I mean, that's been the biggest thing for us, and full steam ahead building the CRM. That's been, obviously the big push for us, and playing catch up. We had a number of CRMs in the market that had years head start on us. So, yeah, man, I mean, that's what, that's been the big focus for us, is what can we do to kind of bring it all together?
Yeah. And what I love about you guys, I mean, I'm not trying to glaze here for the younger viewers, but I don't want to be glazing, but I got to tell you, I'd be remiss not to mention the willingness for you guys to adapt and pivot based on the feedback of your users. And then whether that's the measurements, the instant quotes, any type of products you guys offer, it's a scarce commodity for a company to really listen. Which seems counterintuitive, right? You would think that the people that are paying for your things, when they talk, you should listen.
Yeah.
Because more people that are going to pay for your product are likely going to want the same things. And the people that are paying for it are likely to leave if you don't try to give them what they need, right? So just a quick 2 clap for Roofr. Love you guys, man.
Yeah, no, to be honest with you, it is the number one driver of what we build, right? And so hats off to our product team. They do a tremendous amount of research for every feature that we push out. And a huge part of that is, feedback from customers. A lot of it starts with feedback that comes through our customer success team, our sales team, wherever contractors are interacting with our group. And then the product managers will reach back out, do some investigation. A lot of times they'll do tons of customer interviews before they'll roll a feature out. So, that's always been a number one priority for us with the product, and continues to be, moving forward. So hats off to the product team for the way they handle that.
Yeah. And I mean, it becomes exponentially more challenging. Like you said, you grow from 18 employees to 250 something. For that continuity to stay in place, where left hand's talking to right, things aren't so siloed, and you're bridging those gaps and getting feedback from those different departments to ultimately bring together the best product, is incredibly challenging, I could imagine.
Yeah, absolutely. So. Yeah, we try to centralize the feedback, because it got a little crazy there for a while. Obviously, as you grow, you get that, everybody's kind of throwing it at you. And so we were able to kind of put a process in place, centralize the feedback, and it's made a huge difference, in how we handle that feedback and how we're able to address it. And, the team has done a really, really good job of managing that and managing the expectations of the customer because of it.
Heck yeah. So let's talk roofing. We wrapped up 2025. We're full steam ahead into 2026. What are some lessons people should learn from 2025, and what are some things they have to do in 2026?
That's a great question. I think obviously the biggest elephant in the room for 2025 was the lack of weather and how that affected the entire industry. A lot of the contractors that I talked to were like, man, my business is down, like we've got no sales. I made all my money in the first 3 months of the year. And so being able to maintain through something like that, I think speaks volumes to your systems, your processes, how you're set up internally, to be able to survive a situation like that. Yeah. And then obviously, that affected, everything. I think the growth, like even us at Roofr, obviously we have measurements are directly tied to the amount of volume that contractors are doing. So, it affects everybody when the industry is down like that. And, hopefully, not that you wish storms on anybody, but hopefully 2026 works out to be a better year for everybody, because it could be really tough if it doesn't. Yeah. Right. And so, but I think 2025 was really interesting from an industry standpoint. You're seeing a lot of consolidation, right? I think you saw some stalling of the consolidation with the PE firms. The PE kind of came in hot 2024, beginning of 2025, and then seemed like it kind of faded. It's not as prevalent as it was. It's still there, obviously. You've got your PE firms running around, but obviously I think everybody kind of took a step back to kind of rethink that and take a better look at what they were getting into with the PE firms based on some of the, situations that happened. And so, it's been really interesting, I think, from a industry-wide standpoint to kind of see how things played out. And so I think 2026 will be a very, very unique year for the industry from a standpoint of the consolidation, especially like on our side, on the tech side. You see companies buying companies, a lot of the smaller guys now consolidating with some of the bigger companies and PE-owned companies. So it should be really unique year here going to 2026. So excited for IRE, excited to see what everybody does.
Yeah, it's so how do you, if I'm a roofing contractor and it's, Q4, we're walking into Q4 of 2025, and I'm prudent. I know my numbers. I look at my KPIs. I'm in touch with my teams, and I do a really good job managing all of that, right? The best job I can do, objectively. How do I parse out what's controllable, what's not controllable, right? Because should I hit the panic button? Because there's things happening. I'm looking at my numbers and it's not aligning with my historical trends walking into Q4. Sure. And I'm starting to feel nervous, right? And maybe my sales guys aren't closing as high as a percentage. Maybe my marketing is not doing as well. Maybe there's not. But how do I parse out what's controllable, what's not, and not preemptively hit the panic button and start changing everything? Yeah, because I'm concerned.
I think if you've got a good system and you've got good processes in place that you feel very confident in, like obviously there's always room for improvement, right? Sure. I think if you're not continuously improving, if you think you just like nailed it and you're good, you're on cruise control, like that's a huge mistake, right? Like there's always something that can get better, and that may be personnel wise, that may be tech wise, like there may just be tweaks in the process. There's always something that can be better in the business itself. But at the same time, like you got to look at, okay, with our process, these are the things we can control. Obviously we can't control weather. I can't force people to want to get a roof, right?
So tune into the next episode. I will be showcasing my hail dance for my guys.
How to force weather in 2026.
I got a nice AI agent that's going to help me with it.
Yeah. I can fly a plane, make it rain. I can produce hail. Yeah.
It's going to be great.
That's your new invention. I like that.
Listen,
AI-powered hailstorms. Yep. There you go.
Listen, it's still in the growth stage, but
there you go. We'll figure it out. Yeah. We're looking for that PE backing.
Slide in the DMs, guys.
Yeah. But yeah, I think it's like you just got to look at the process. Obviously, there's things that are out of your control. And I think as long as you can manage your process, everything stays fine-tuned, make some tweaks, maybe, bottom line things, maybe we can cut some costs somewhere. and maybe we can fine tune it a little bit, help us that way, to stay profitable. That diversification, I think, is a huge piece, especially if you're a small roofer. Maybe you've come in and you only do roofs, which is great. You can make a living doing that. But obviously, if you can diversify into some other things that are, related, let's say exterior stuff, gutters, siding. We see people do fencing. We see people do decks. I mean, we see people do all kinds of different stuff alongside of, roofing. I think that's a great way to just kind of bridge the gap, right? And get you through, add a couple things. And that doesn't mean, a massive investment on your point. It could just be finding a sub crew that allows you now to sell, a different set of products or a different, a different feature, something like that. When you go to these houses, you can upsell a little bit. So,
yeah.
I think it's a great way to stay alive,
We're trying to stay alive, baby. So, all right. So you're a $3 million contractor in 2024. 2025, you finish at 2.6 million, right? So you're setting, so let's say
flatlined.
Well, dude, we took a step back, dude.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Yeah.
But your margin stayed intact, right? Yeah. And that's good. And you made some adjustments, but it's December of 2025. You're setting your budget for marketing for 2026. When you're reviewing your numbers, you notice that your cost per acquired customer has increased by 20%. Right? So revenue's down $400K, cost per acquired customer is up 20%. Do you increase, decrease, or stay the same with your marketing budget?
Ooh. First of all, how many contractors can actually tell you what their cost of acquisition is?
So selfless. So you take the attention right off yourself and start talking about everybody else. I love that. That's why I love you, Pete. That's a good question.
It's legit, right? Like,
yeah.
How many contractors could actually tell you what it costs to acquire a customer? I mean, I think that's something that, obviously, like you're saying, right? Like, you want to be able to tweak marketing or look at marketing and how it affects the bottom line, but do you really know what it's costing you to ultimately acquire that customer? And, and then based off of that, like, we can make more educated, decisions on what we're going to do with our marketing and how we're going to apply our money. And also, I think, you got to look at your marketing, right? Like, hopefully you're marketing in a couple of different ways, right? What is performing the best? Maybe we push money in a certain place, maybe we let up on another place. I'm not saying like go chips all in on one thing, because that's not a good recipe either. But, obviously we can jockey funds around. I would say, if anything, I'm probably holding steady at this point, but I'm maybe just reallocating a bit to see, hey, what could I do to possibly, bolster this? I know I get my best return over here. These leads are closing better. My cost of acquisition maybe is lower over here. Let's get let's get some more money over there so we can see if we can pump some more leads through that.
It's a really good point. So isolating your different marketing channels, understanding what is it costing us to acquire a customer via each marketing channel. And you also have to understand that you could have maybe, Google Organic or Facebook ads is your best converting marketing channels from a cost per acquired customer perspective, but also there can be diminishing returns, right? So, if let's say Angie is the best one, you may have pulled all the cookies out of the cookie jar, right? So you may not have the opportunity to put more into it. Or let's say Facebook is, or Google ads, but once you get outside of that sweet spot and you're targeting people on the fringe, they're not so much bottom funnel ready to buy, that's going to increase your cost per acquired customer, right? Yeah. Your cost per click, your cost per lead, your cost per acquired customer. So it's like having an understanding, having somebody within your team or outside of your team that can help you make these decisions. But it starts with awareness, right?
Yeah.
You have to pay attention. You have to know these things. And if you don't, you've got to make it your mission in 2026 to better understand these things.
Yeah. I was going to just add to that. I think you have to constantly look at it, right?
Oh, yeah.
It's not one of those things where it's not a set it and forget it.
No.
Right. And I think that's a mistake that's made. It's like how I'll just, I'll set this up. Oh, this looks like it's really been converting well. Let's throw a bunch of money at it and then let's just go to work.
Yeah.
Right. And if you're not coming back, like you said, there may be a time where all of a sudden you've saturated that market, that marketing channel. And now all of a sudden you're falling off and you don't even realize it because you haven't gone back and taken a look at it. And maybe, you have to constantly watch the trends.
Yep.
Right. Because people, like, I just did a podcast the other day with a guy who's, doing some marketing stuff. And he was talking about how you're starting to see a transition away from using Google to search and using like chat and all these other, AI powered, learning models, to search, like as your search engines, and if you're not feeding the right content to them and you're not leveraging them as a marketing opportunity, right? You could be selling yourself short there. So like, but you have to recognize the trends and make adjustments accordingly.
Love that you brought that up. So I'm going to give you guys a tip, right? We've seen transitions from search platforms, whether it was from MSN and Yahoo to Google, now LLMs.
MySpace, I think.
Don't chill. Don't abandon your typical SEO strategy in favor of trying to do everything you can to satiate the need to be on LLMs, right? These two things work harmoniously, and typically like sound foundational SEO is going to help you rank on LLMs, but you'll see people that are forcing a ton of different things into their content, like on their website, for the sole purpose of getting picked up in LLMs. And I could see a situation where, Google's like, we're going to do a core update. You've abandoned some of the fundamental principles of what pleases us. Therefore, all these mentions you're getting in citations on ChatGPT and Perplexity and Gemini, we're going to go ahead and pull that back on Google. And those things it's going to have a domino effect across the other platforms as well. So I'm not saying not to do it. Be cognizant of it. Also, don't tailor your whole strategy to show up on ChatGPT.
Yeah. Well, and you got to remember too that you got to look at your customer base and who are your homeowners, right? The people who are going to ChatGPT right now and using it as their search engine probably are not homeowners yet. They're probably going there to look for
savvy guys like Pete.
No, it's probably a younger crowd, right? A younger generation who probably doesn't own a house yet, who's using ChatGPT to find the closest bar, right? Like they're not looking for a contractor on there yet. Obviously that's trending that direction, and that's your future homeowner, right? And in the future, they'll probably use that, but your homeowners right now are probably still on Google, right? So it's like, like you said, don't push all your chips in on ChatGPT just yet, because your customers are still spread out across a lot of other stuff.
Yeah, I had a prospect reach out the other day, and he's like, well, what are you doing for AI search? I told him, right? Like, we've made substantial changes and overhauls to our process to accommodate visibility in AI. And he says, okay, so like, what are you doing to track it? Like, how are you tracking like prompts, and how are you tracking? I was like, we're not. He looks at me very confused, because on a quote unquote sales call, that's not what you'd want to hear sitting on the other end of that conversation. I was like, no, all these things are fucking brand new. And if you run 7 different platforms of, I have prompt visibility tracking, and you plug in that URL, they're going to be vastly different, right? So now you get to a situation where you're making decisions on data that's inaccurate. It kind of is similar to like, if you have a team that doesn't update your CRM, right? And you're trying to make decisions for the business based off of partial or incomplete or just wrong data.
Yeah.
And you're almost better guessing.
We see it quite often where people say like, oh, the reporting in here is not accurate, but then you look, and a lot of times it has to do with how you feed it, right? And if the information's not in there, the CRM can only do so much, right? It's only so intuitive, right?
If you don't put gas in the car, it's not going to fucking go.
Exactly.
Unless it's electric. And if you have a Tesla, then congratulations. Yeah. But you still got to plug it in.
Got to plug it in.
Yeah. So plug in.
That's right.
What's one piece of advice you're leaving the audience with today for 2026 if they own a roofing company?
I'm a big process guy, so I love
process.
I love, go take a look at your process. Like I said, there's always an opportunity to improve. Ask your team. I think that's a hugely overlooked thing. It's like, hey, from the top looking down, I could be like, yeah, this looks super dialed, or maybe I want to adjust this. Ask your team, right? Ask the people that live in it every day what frustrates them, and then make adjustments based off of that, right? Let them have input. One thing it does is it empowers them to want to have ownership over that process, right? It's going to allow them to have some input on improving the process, right? So they're going to have better buy-in. Hey, that's my idea. We implemented it, so I think that's a huge thing that we overlook, right? As the owner, we're like, well, we know, right? I know what needs to be done. I'll just do it, right? And everybody else can just kind of live with the results. And I think that, going to your team and asking them, and that's not just going to your sales team. I literally just stood up on the stage at RoofCon and preached about how we, production is like the redheaded stepchild of the roofing process, right? Like, go to your production guys, go to your crew out in the field and be like, what ruins your day, guys? What do we need to do different? A perfect example, I had a contractor in Philly, outside of Philly, I went and visited, and he was like, man, we got killed so many times on product being delivered from our supplier and coming up short. Something, they were out of stock on something, or our time's up.
Sorry, guys.
You know what I mean? It was like, hey, we're out of product or whatever. And then the guys show up at the job site and they're like, oh crap, like we don't have what we need to do the job. Somebody's got to run to the supply house and try to find it and all this stuff. And so he figured out, hey, what's killing you guys? And they're like, not having product every time we get to a job site. So he figured out a process to improve making sure the product was there ahead of time. And simple stuff like that. But it was because he asked his team. Right, he actually went to the guys installing the roof and said, "What screws up your day? Like, let's fix it."
So don't just ask them and listen. I actually have to implement some of what they say sometimes.
Man. All right. And obviously, you want to make your best judgment call. Like, I'm sure they're going to tell you some things you're just like,
just nature of the beast. Sorry, dude.
It is. It's part of the business,
Well, it's really hot every time we get up on the roof.
Yeah.
Sorry, dude. Until Mike figures out this AI weather manipulation, you're beat.
Yeah, you're screwed. But I think that's a huge thing that we overlook. And like I said, I'm a big continuous improvement guy. So there's always the opportunity to improve more stuff. No matter how dialed you think you are, I guarantee you there's some opportunities somewhere in there.
Also, just plug your SOPs in a notebook LM and start querying. Like, talk about the issues, the feedback your team's giving you, and like, hey, procedurally, how could we make this a process better that's associated with this problem? Right?
What I thought was really interesting. A guy that I talked to, he said, a Google search, the average Google search is 8 words long. The average Chat GPT conversation is 357. Because it's conversation, right? And they're prompting you.
Yeah, I'd love to see the data on that. I would agree it's remarkably longer because I know how I use it, right?
Yeah.
And you're giving it a ton of context.
Yeah. You're much more specific in what you ask. It feeds you follow-up questions, so it keeps you engaged, right?
I always love it when it's like, okay, now we got this. We can do this. Would you like me to do that for you now?
Yeah.
3 hours later, I'm like, what was that supposed to be?
Yeah, what did I even start looking at? Yeah.
That's amazing. So my mantra is high floor for 2026. High floor.
High floor.
Solve problems with regard specifically to acquiring customers that you can't pay your way out of. So the tedious bullshit that nobody likes to do because they have to have a process for it. They have to train their team, and then they actually have to manage their team.
Yeah.
And hold them accountable to that process. So whether that's joining local chambers of commerce, and then once you get in there, assigning each one to your sales team, a member of your sales team, now you're responsible for going and developing relationships. And you have a scorecard associated with that. So you got to go to one event a month for each one of the chambers. And you got to reach out to vertically adjacent contractors, build reciprocal relationships, shoot content, cross-pollinate your brands between each other's channels. There's so many different opportunities, but they're less sought after because they're harder. They're harder in the sense that like there's something to manage, and I can't just be like, okay, Mike, here's another $10,000, run some more Google ads. Because in a situation like 2025 where the industry has a down year, that high floor is going to help you. Those referral relationships from all those different people are going to be substantial to your top and bottom line. I
mean, the reality of it is referrals are still the number one converting source of leads for the roofing space.
Yes, sir.
Like I think 70% of the leads still come from referrals for most companies.
I don't know. You're a big stats guy. I don't have the stats on it, but I would agree. And they're definitely easier to close when somebody...
And the cost of acquisition is probably the lowest.
Yeah. Like maybe you pay commission. Maybe you run it yourself as the owner. I don't know.
Yeah.
I know people that do both. But this was incredible. And I'm so happy to have had the opportunity to chop it up with you today.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. So again, if you need anything, contact the team at Roofr. They're down in the comments below. Appreciate y'all for tuning in today. And we're going to have a great day at the show.
Yeah.
Let's get it.
Fun.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.